Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name is Helen Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our fabulous guest today is my old crony,
Mike Parker.
That's not a very nice way to introduce our guest.
I know that threw me.
My old colleague from a long, long time ago in another life. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Brilliant. And we'll find out loads more about Mike as we go along through the show. But first, we always shout out to the kids, any little people who've done amazing things this week. So, Sandra, any little people who've done amazing things for you?
Yes, I've had Evie Jo's been working really hard, and she got loads of compliments from the teacher when she went back to school after working hard and with stuff she doesn't like doing over the break, and it's a lot of our young people have been a bit anxious about going back to school with new changes and things going on again. So just a shout out to all of them, really, because we've all gone back to school and etc. this last week.
Brilliant. And John Lowe's listening in, and John Lowe says he loves your hair, Sandra.
Oh, do you know what? He was always so lovely when I lived with him, and I used to stay with him and Sean about my hair. Yes, I just left it this morning because I had to be in town for 8 o'clock, and I was teaching online before I went on a course. And I started teaching the client when my hair was still wet, and throughout the lesson it dried and got bigger and bigger and bigger. Thank you, John.
And it's not Wednesday because normally you go to the hairdressers on a Wednesday and your hair's blown on a Wednesday night.
Only every other Wednesday night. I feel bad for John because I said to him I was going to drop off my mum's gluten-free Christmas cake for him. And then I thought, well, I'll just take half the cake. It's gone now, John. I'm sorry.
you were supporting him, weren't you?
No, I know.
God supporting him in his health regime.
Oh.
Yeah. Mike, any young people?
Any young people you'd like to give a shout out to this week, Mike?
Well, do you know what? I'm going to say a big shout out to all the second entry scouts and beavers and, the explorers, because they're still having to do their scouting outside at the moment, because of all the COVID restrictions, because it's just safer with everything going on with Omicron. They're having to test before they go in into the the grounds of the church where they go into, and they're just doing amazing because let's give a shout out to all the little kids, because do you know what, they're all doing these lateral flow tests, aren't they? Doing them now. Who on earth would have thought that we would have all been doing this? But children have just taken it on board as if it's an everyday occurrence now. So big shout out to all the little kids doing that.
And Mike, just a little point you made there. One of the mums I was speaking to the other day, I teach a little boy he's only 5 and he has autism. And the mum had to do the test with him as well for going to school. And he said, he asked for a mask because he wanted to be like the rest of the family. I know I just love this kid so much. And she was telling me on the phone, and I thought he doesn't understand why he's got to do it or anything. It's just hard. It's so hard for the kids, and they just get on with it, don't they?
They do. No questions asked. Everyone is doing it, aren't they? That's the thing. People are just getting on and doing it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing for them, isn't it? So I'm going to give a shout out to the kids who are big kids. So we've got Jack, Beth and Emmett in our office, and last week Danny Clark was one of our previous guests.
Yeah. And Danny Clark's been doing training for us that we've been attending. So the kids were on the training course last week with Helen, weren't they, Hel?
Yeah, and oh, did I? Sorry, I was going to say I was just carried on talking, and they just did amazing, and everyone's got their challenges, and it was a new venue and it was a new place, and I was a little bit wary when I first started, because they were having a chat and someone was thinking, oh, is this going to go over their heads? And they just bought into it and they nailed it, and they got loads out of it. So I'm super, super proud of them. Watching them grow is amazing. And they just sort of take anything that you throw at them. Right, we're going to do this, and they go, oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. So yeah, they did a great job. So well done to them, even though they're big little people. So great shout out to them. Success this week. I'm going to start with Mike first.
For me,
Yeah.
Oh, right. What have I done this week? Well, I actually got kept some on the job today. So in my job in the daytime that I do, which I won't talk too much about, but, had to do a disciplinary meeting today. So, kept the job. So that's fantastic.
Oh,
Brilliant. Good stuff. Good stuff. That's a nice positive outcome.
Absolutely.
Sam, positive thing for you?
A positive thing was I didn't know where my phone was today. And when I came home, I used the magic technology, find my iPhone on my computer. I just Googled it. And then it was in the next room under my greetings card that I've been looking through this morning about 6:30. So it turned up, hurrah, because a little bit of me thought, ooh, what if it's lost? Your life's ruined forever. So so I was quite pleased that I found it. So that was quite a little, I had loads of successes, but that was the imminent one that happened today.
Brilliant. And we've got a massive success this week. So our young person, Jack, is a bit of a tech whiz, and he has put Success in the City. So this show now can be downloaded, audio file only, into a podcast and put on Spotify.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He's been our podcast for us, hasn't he? So we won't know ourselves. So people will be able to get an extra dose of us if they want to listen to us on
they'll be able to listen to it as they're going along, won't they? Because quite lots of people can't listen in, can they, at the time? So they'll be able to. But yes, so we're going to be on Spotify. So that's pretty exciting. So massive shout out to Jack for sorting all that out. He just went, I can do that, and then it was done. So it was amazing.
They're amazing, aren't they? Amazing.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. So Mike is with us today. We're going to find out a little bit about you by playing this or that, and then we're going to hand it over to you, Mike. Okay. So Sandra, are you going first or am I going first?
You can go first, Helen, if you like.
Okay. So Mike,
she frozen.
She's having some problems today, Helen. Sometimes Helen's internet does this, and this is what we're going through. And you've got a very professional setup on your show, Mike. I know that, but we're still waiting on the internet here. Okay.
It just keeps on coming on and off, doesn't it?
I know. Well, you go first whilst you can.
Okay. Being interviewed or interviewing somebody. Mike.
Interviewing.
What about you, Sam?
Interviewing, definitely. Although Mike was lovely the other day. You're a lot more careful when you're being interviewed, aren't you? You have to concentrate.
Absolutely.
Whereas when you're interviewing, it's dead easy. You just ask the questions. What about you, Helen?
I think interviewing, because you get to meet so many more people, don't you? We get to meet lovely guests every week and people who just do amazing things.
Every single week we have fabulous people on from our whole city area, from the region, including Wirral and that. We do so well, don't we? Okay, so mine for you is completely different, Helen, because Mike and I used to work together, of course. So Boeing or Airbus?
Me, I would definitely say Airbus.
No way. Honestly, Boeing.
Absolutely, 100%.
Going. I can't believe that. Okay. Helen, Boeing or Airbus?
Boeing, of course.
I'm in the European Union.
I have a sticker on my case. If it's not Boeing, I'm not going. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go on, Hel.
Okay. Listening to a podcast or listening to the radio, Mike?
Oh, it's got to be the radio, hasn't it?
Okay, radio. Sam?
I like listening to the radio, but with a podcast, you can focus on something that you're really interested in. So, I teach languages and that. And one of the things a lot of my clients listen to, the ones who do Spanish with me, they always say about Coffee Break Spanish. And it doesn't replace a lesson, but it helps them. And it gives them tips about language learning and things like that. And it's a Scottish guy, and he's teaching a Scottish lady Spanish, and they love it. And loads of my clients recommend that. And I'll listen to them, like the Sales Dojo do a brilliant one. There's loads of different podcasts you can listen to. Claire Morton's done a brilliant one. There's loads of them out there. and I think you can focus more on what you want. So probably if I had to pick between the two forever, I'd pick podcast.
Would you?
What about you, Hal? Though I love me music, don't I? What about you, Hal?
I think if I had to pick forever, I'd pick radio, because you get like a little bit of the talk and then you get the music, and and when I'm driving around. But I used to use the car for listening to podcasts and audiobooks and things like that. So I am gonna mix it up a little bit, and I am gonna start listening to some podcasts in the car when I'm driving.
Yeah, and I have audiobooks on all the time, every single day.
Yeah, I don't do audiobooks, but
they're great in the car.
Yeah, using the car time, isn't it? So yeah, go on, Sam.
Okay. The US or the Far East?
I'd say the US, because I've never been to the Far East, really. When I was with Monica, I went to Hong Kong and I loved it. And I went to Taipei and Singapore, but I've never been to the beaches of Thailand. And funnily enough, in one of my radio shows last week, I was interviewing a guy who was the CEO of Nok Air, which is a low-cost carrier out in Thailand. And he was just absolutely lovely. So he sort of got me thinking about Thailand. But at the moment, I'm going to say the US.
And the funniest statement you made there is, I've never been, this is just an airline thing to say, I've never been to the Far East. I've been to Hong Kong, Singapore, and Taipei. Yeah, like you have been to the Far East.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I've been to the airport hotel, Sandra.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. No, we used to get a long stay. You must have had a good stay in Hong Kong.
Well, we had 2 weeks there.
Yeah, that's right.
But we were flying between Taipei, Hong Kong, and Bangkok. So I can say I've been to Bangkok airport, but I've never
I've got a lot of airports I've been to, but like I've been to Faro and Lisbon, but I've never been to Portugal, which is meant, it's funny, isn't it, how you can visit countries and then other places you don't get to see them, But I think I was in Bahrain when you guys did that charter to Hong Kong.
Yes.
Did you stop in Bahrain? And I've met loads of people there, and they were going, we're going to Hong Kong, and we all met them in the Dairy Queen. I remember that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what about you, Sam? Where would you go?
Over the two, the US or the Far East, that's a very difficult one. Overall, Far East, because there's more choice.
Wow.
Yeah, there's more choice of different countries, and that if you think the states are very diverse between the states, but the Far East is more diverse because you've got different countries, and I'm including Malaysia, Penang, and all of that in there. And I'd really like to go to Indonesia, where I haven't been to. So
I love India. Absolutely adore India.
I did, and Sri Lanka and that. What about you, Helen?
Far East for me, it'd be 100% be the Far East. Yeah.
I'm going to seriously have to look at that, aren't I?
Healthier food for starters.
My Uncle Ron's listening in, and he says, thanks for the later kickoff, because he can do the washing up now.
Thank you, Uncle Ron. That's entirely my fault, because I'm going drumming tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
You are.
Very excited.
So my last one, beach or city break, Mike?
Ooh. Well, I'm not a beachy person. If I went to a hotel that was on the beach, I would love a room looking out over the beach, but I would probably go to the beach one day, but I would have the swimming pool. So I've got to say, really, I'm probably more into a city break than a beach break.
Yeah. I'm the same, 100%.
Yeah.
Sam?
It depends how long for. So if it's like a 2-day, 3-day thing, city hands down. There's a lot more you can do, a lot more you can see. There's no point in going to the beach for 3 days. You can't come home with a good colour. Why bother? If it's a week away, I'll have a beach break, thanks, because I'll get 2 novels read and I'll relax and get a good tan. That's great for me. Happy with that. So shallow. It's unbelievable. But for the weekend, I love cities. If I have a beach break, though, I do like to go somewhere where I can see stuff, a bit of culture. Say I love beach holidays. I wouldn't just like to sit there and sunbathe and not see anything of the place or have their food and their culture. Do you know what I mean? I'm not that bad.
No. What about you, Sam? Last one.
Okay, then. Last one. Let me think. Okay. Emirates or BA?
Now that's a difficult one because I love flying with both of them, and it's lovely to have a different experience on a proper scheduled full service airline.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stick with my country and say BA.
Okay. Well, I worked for BA. I've got loads of mates there, but I'm going to pick Emirates. Yeah, no. But I like flying with different airlines, and Etihad are lovely, and there's still loads I'd like to fly with, even now, lots of nice.
Just the experience, isn't it? It's a different experience you get, because when you step on board British Airways from either Ryanair or EasyJet, there is a vast difference, even from Monarch to Britannia when we go back in time.
Yeah,
they were just so different. It was lovely just to get on board someone else's plane and just sit there.
Yeah. When I worked for Monarch, I remember people going, "Can you hang this in the wardrobe?" And I used to think, "Are you mental? Where do you think the wardrobe is?" And of course, when I worked for British Airways, there were wardrobes. And when we went on the 767, there were several wardrobes. So yeah, of course. And it's just different, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but of course,
absolutely.
Your ticket price, so you pay your money, you take your. I'd take the budget airline any day because it enables me to fly.
But you know what? You would for a short flight, but a long flight, you're better off with the schedule, aren't you?
100%. Hurrah. But there we go. Okay, brilliant. Are you with us, Hal? You're a bit pixelated.
I'm in both. It just keeps on flashing on and off. So yeah. So now we know a little bit more about this or that. Sandra, you're going to introduce our guest. You're going to tell us all, and then he's going to tell us all about himself. So over to you to introduce Mike.
So I first met Mike 30 years ago, working out when we were both at Monarch Airlines. We were one of the many people from Liverpool who used to drive along the M62 to work. And we flew from Manchester, didn't we? And I think you'd been with them already in Luton, if I'm not mistaken.
You've got a very good memory. Yes, I had. Yeah, I did, Sandra. Yeah.
And you were at Luton first, and I remember you joined us at Manchester. And Mike's done a lot. He's going to talk a bit about his journey. But I remember, and this program's about people who bring a lot to the table in the community and do a lot locally. And I remember you doing fundraising to take disabled children abroad. When we were younger, and then you went on through the airlines, and you've gone on to help people, and we'll speak about how. And you've been running the community. You've been involved in Mughal Radio, haven't you? For 7 years, is it? For a long time.
About 7 years, yeah. Coming up to 7 years. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, if you'd like to tell us a bit more about your journey, Mike Parker. And how
thank you, Sandra. I was going to call you by your maiden name then.
Yeah, of course.
30 years ago. Sandra Jackson.
Name. Yeah, that's right. I forgot what it was.
I started off fundraising many, many years ago. I'm going to go back. It's got to be the 84, 85, 86, something like that. And it all started because of my nephew. Now, my nephew would have been about 43, 44 now. And I remember my sister coming home one day, and she said, "Mark has been invited to go on a pilgrimage to Lourdes." And we thought, "Oh, right, okay, okay." This was his school teacher, and his doctor was the school teacher's husband. So, so he's in school, gets invited to go on this pilgrimage with HCPT, which at the time was called the Handicapped Children's Pilgrimage Trust. But that's not politically correct now. So it's called Hosanna Pilgrimage Trust, Hosanna House Pilgrimage Trust, something like that. I can't remember the correct term for it. But anyway, they still take children, and this happens every Easter. So what actually would happen is they would fundraise throughout the year, and then on Easter Monday, you would all meet. This happened in St. Aidan's in Walton. This is where we used to go from when I very, very first went. I used to get on a coach or a train, and go all, because you went overland. So it was quite hard. But if we jump back a year first, when my nephew went, he went from Lime Street Station. We had to take them to Lime Street Station. And if you can imagine the length of the platform with this huge train with hundreds of people on the platform, because everybody and the friend came for every child that was going on that train. So basically all the family came. And Lime Street Station was just packed, and we found the carriage that he was going in. And I said to my sister, "Is that lady called Anne Black?" And she said, "Yes." Now, I had a mobile disco, and I didn't realize, but a lot of the discos that I was doing was raising money for this particular group. And this is way before I even heard about them or what they were ever doing. So this train pulls off out of Lime Street with a band playing on the platform, all the kids screaming and shouting, and some crying because they were leaving the parents. And this train just went off. There was huge noise of people singing, shouting, laughter, happiness, a bit of sadness from the parents. And then all of a sudden, this train disappeared, and we were all left on the platform.
Oh.
Wow. A week later, we went back, and this train came back. And it was like the noise had kept going for the whole week, because the same noise was coming back as this train was coming in, and the band was there to welcome them back. And the kids just had an amazing time. So I actually said to my sister, "I'm going to see if I can go to Lourdes one year." And I said, because if I go to Lourdes for 1 year, my mum will talk about that for the rest of her life. The rest of her life, she will say, "Oh, Michael went to Lourdes 1 year with the kids, you know." And I did. I went, and it was expensive. You had to fund yourself, but it was the best, one of the best things I have ever done in my life. At that particular time, you got a particular child to look after, so there would just be you and him in the rooms. But now, for health and safety, there's got to be 2 adults with every child. So, but you know what? It was unbelievable. You were looking after these children. It was a hard week. And we got the train from Lime Street Station, and we went all the way down to Dover on the train. And don't forget, everything on that train, we were taking everything with us. So there was children in wheelchairs that needed a lot of stuff. So they had about 3 cases each, some of them. Some were just like us, would have 1 case, but some of them needed so much stuff while they were away. They needed this. All this had to be loaded onto the train. We then got down to Dover. It then all had to be taken off the train by us. There was no one to do it, by us. Loaded onto baggage carts that then got taken onto the boat. We then went across on the boat, and then it all got taken off and put onto the French train. And then we went through France on the night couchette train.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, do you know, you've all seen the Harry Potter films, haven't you, with the train? Yeah. They were those trains where they had compartments with a corridor down the side.
Oh, that's a dream.
It was unbelievable. And there was 6 bunks in each compartment. And it was just unbelievable, because, you know, some of the kids would wet themselves, would dirty themselves, and we would have to clean all this up. So we used to have underpants and knickers hanging out the windows, flapping through France, all trying to dry as we were going through. And then you would have a bit of sleep, and then you get to Lourdes, and you were coming through the Pyrenees into the valley. And obviously, when you've been there a few times, you knew what to look for. And the train would just start slowing down, and there'd just be this valley that you'd look down, sweeping down to this beautiful river with white water. And then you would just see the basilica there with the huge church. And then if you knew exactly where to look, you would see the grotto where St. Bernadette appeared where the Virgin Mary appeared to Bernadette Subaru in the grotto. And then when you get there, then you'd have to unload the train and go onto a coach. And when you're doing all this as well, you're actually lifting the kids, moving the kids, putting them on the coach, off the coach, on the bus, on the train, on the ferry, you know, and you've got to look after them as well, because obviously this is taking something like 32 to 34 hours to get there. So they need to be fed and watered as well. So you've got all the food to take with you. And then you get to the hotel, and then all the bars, the restaurants, the bistros are waiting for us, because people have been going for so many years. They knew people. And as you were walking down the road, people were shouting your name, Mike, Mike. So that 1 year lasted for 25 years.
Oh gosh, because you didn't remember you like getting the time off work that specific week to go with.
Monarch were absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I was made redundant from my first airline called Paramount, and I went to work for Monarch, and I started in the February. So I'm not entitled to any work, any paid time off work. And Mark, my nephew, his doctor wrote to Monarch and said I was an integral part of this group, because I used to do physiotherapy on children with cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So you used to do that. So I was classed as a physiotherapist while I was there, and I was an integral part of this group. So he wrote to Monarch, and I was called into the office by Anne Bray and Pat Fallows. I don't know if you remember those two names.
I remember the name of Bray, yeah.
Anne Bray was the cabin crew manager, and Pat Fallows was the guy that used to run the safety department.
Oh, yeah, he was the older guy.
Yeah. And they both got me in, and they said, we've had a letter from this doctor. You're an integral part of this. You've only just started this company. I said, I know. I said, if it's going to be an issue, there's absolutely no problem. They went, no, it's fantastic. Oh. We will give you the paid time off. Do not tell anyone. Sorry, everyone. It is over 30 years later. So they gave me the paid time off to do it. And they gave me the time off every year. And then when it comes to that time of the year, I would get my box of goodies, because Monarch would box up a load of glasses, teas, coffees, creamers, milk, sugars, bits and bobs of sweets and everything that we would take with us for the week. And they were fantastic doing that. They were just amazing. I mean, we used to, do great things. We used to organize a barn dance, which was amazing to do. Used to have it in a barn, and then it got too big. So then we had to hire a marquee. So we had the marquee for the weekend. So we used to have a bit of a disco ourselves the night before. And then we'd have this huge barn dance, which would raise money. And it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Aww, good times.
Yeah. But then I met Michelle. We got married. We had children. And then they liked it. And they wanted to come. So I was then paying for 4. So you used to get subsidized a little bit. But, when you're paying for 4 people, it's a lot. So when we got to 25 years, we thought, this is enough now. We need to concentrate on our family. But I am absolutely wanting to go back to Lourdes, because there is nothing like when you've had such a stressful day, walking down to the grotto and sitting there in front of thousands of candles all lit around the statue of the Virgin Mary, Our Lady, as I would say, and just looking there. And even if you're not religious, you're atheist or whatever, I think you would still be moved there.
It's like anything like that, isn't it, Mike? It doesn't matter what religion you are. If you go to something where everyone's together and there's like lights, I've been to Diwali festival in Sri Lanka, and that's just beautiful, and there's all different types of festivals that different religions have globally, and they're all wonderful experiences to be part of. They, whether I'm not religious at all, but I have been there once with the school and experienced that, when I was a teenager, and I just thought it was amazing.
It's lovely.
I loved it, and I wasn't religious when I said, and I told them that, unfortunately, which is another story. But, but it was a dead nice experience. But speaking about the courgettes, and this is another bizarre story, which certainly wouldn't happen now. When I was 14, I went on my own to France, as you do. Summer. Yeah, I know it shouldn't have happened, but never mind. And I went to stay with this family, and I had a courgette, which again is a bit massive child protection issue now. But fortunately, there was an elderly Scottish lady in my compartment and some guys, and we each get fed. And I was delighted because you got a quarter bottle of wine with your dinner, and they bring it all in and everything. And I remember thinking, oh, and I was 14 and I had that with my dinner and everything. Honest to God, like that. And I remember this Scottish woman going, "You're very young to go away." I was going, "How do you think?" Oh, well. And off I went. They must have thought, "Oh, my God." Now when you think, honest, our mentals, that.
Absolutely. It's scary, isn't it?
The being on it, going on to France in the train and everything.
I love trains. I think they're lovely.
So as well. Yes.
Yes.
14, smoking on the train as you do.
You
Yeah.
didn't smoke, did you, Sandra?
Yeah, only till I was 24. On and on. So, and then I never smoked then after that, really. And then, and that was it, really. And then,
Yeah. Wow.
So after you went on the train and you did all these amazing things with these young people, what was your next step on the journey to where you are now? How did you get involved in the radio?
Well, before I even started flying, I used to DJ in the clubs in Liverpool, and I had a mobile disco as well. So from the age of sort of 18, as soon as I could drive, I got myself a van. My dad lent me the money for the disco. I paid him the money back. And, you know, if I go back then, you're talking, we were buying vinyl. And I had boxes and boxes and boxes of records, LPs, 12 inches, 7 inches. And I used to take them all with me because, you know, people wanted a song and you had to try and memorize where these were in the boxes. So a good friend of mine who used to come and help me was a guy called Paul Douglas, who went to Monarch as well and also went to British Airways.
Sorry, Mike, how rude of me to laugh. Uncle Ron has just put a comment on. Please forgive me for laughing then. Vermicelli hair style is sweeping punchy. One time, Mike had my hair like this and he commented and said it was Medusa's hair. And then he just put that on. And you see, you're a professional radio interviewer who would never laugh as your guest was talking. And I just looked down and saw his comments and burst out laughing. I'm so sorry. Mike, do go on. Paul Douglas, who I also remember very well.
Yeah, he used to help me DJing. And what you're talking about, you're talking about moving a lot of equipment around and putting it in a club, setting it all up, doing the disco, getting it all done, taking it all down and trying to get it out the hall where people are standing in the doorway, because that's where they go. They stand in the archway of the doorway when you've got two big heavy speakers trying to get through. Excuse me. Oh, sorry. Excuse me again. You know, so with DJing, and I started helping at Radio Broad Green. And I was just about to get a slot on Radio Broad Green because I was volunteering first. And then I got a job with Paramount. Mm-hmm. So I went off to fly with them and stop DJing. But I did do a few nights in Bahrain when we were there because one of my DJ colleagues from Liverpool was out in Bahrain. So I went and DJ'd out there with him. When, you know, we were on trips with Monarch.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of the club, but the night I was on with him, we tripled the take over the bar.
Go away.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bit cool, isn't it? A DJ in Bahrain.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what, Helen? It was brilliant.
And it had all white walls.
Yeah.
That's the
Can't remember what it was called.
Bahrain. Yeah. Club. Yeah.
And then, so I've always been interested in radio, and you know, it was very, very hard to get into. And then about 7 years ago, in our local newspaper, The Champion, it just said that McGull was starting its own radio station. So after doing a bit of investigating, I found out that it was based in the town hall in McGull. So tried to get in there a couple of times and couldn't even get near the radio station for security. And I don't know what happened. I went this particular time and I didn't even plan on going. I was just driving past and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go in and see. And they were all in there and I went in and I had a chat with them. And they went, yeah, come down one day next week and you can have a go. And they sort of, because they were all volunteers. So I goes into the studio and starts doing what I'm doing. And they're all like, he's like professional.
Yeah.
And I wasn't professional, but I was a DJ in the clubs and pubs and stuff. But I wasn't professional in a studio. But I just had a bit of the patter and trained a few people there because, you know, there was a few people there with some difficulties because we had some DJs there that just played music and couldn't speak. When I say couldn't speak, they could speak. You could have a conversation with them, but they were too scared to talk on microphone. So I just said, look, you know, people like this, you need to take it in small steps. So if you can't say anything, just build yourself up, take a deep breath and say, good morning, everyone. It's Mike here. And then just wise your music back up.
Yeah.
and just get
Or
yourself calm
introduce a
again,
record or something like
and
that.
then
Yeah.
just build it up. Do you know what this guy I told this to does a 1 hour talk show now?
Wow.
Yeah,
How brilliant is that?
Can't shut him up. Honestly, you cannot shut him up. And it's brilliant. And he used to go around DJing with his dad, and his dad was saying, you know, I've got to take him out because he's just shy and he won't talk, and he won't talk in front. He's doing really well, you know, so it's really good, you know, and it's just great to get people in. We get the youngsters in, say, come on, come and have a go with this. And it's community radio. It's for people in the community. It's just brilliant.
And how can people listen to that, Mike? Sorry, how can people listen to Muggle Radio?
Well, it's only available online,
okay.
because it's a voluntary radio station. It's an internet radio station. If you wanted to go FM, there's a lot more involved with licenses, and it costs a lot more. And we need a huge mast put on top of the Maghull Town Hall, which should cost about £5,000. So we can do the same thing, but just on the internet. And all people have to do is just type in the search bar maghullradio.co.uk, and it'll come up, and they can just click on the website, and then it'll just come up with a button which says listen live, and you just click on that, and they can listen to me at 8 o'clock every Sunday morning.
And you know,
maghullradio.co.uk. Sorry, San.
Yeah, it's www.maghullradio.co.uk. And I'm on 8 o'clock Sunday morning. 8 o'clock Sunday morning, and it's a bit of religion in it as well, Helen. Because we do about, I go on for 40 minutes, and then we do 40 minutes of religion, and then 40 minutes again of just normal music. And it's not heavy religion, and we're not saying you should be doing this, you should be doing that, just playing religious music. And then we have people that join us at 9 o'clock in the morning to give a bit of a thought for the day, might do a reading for this week. So we have all denominations involved. I'm going to say all the denominations I can get to come on, because obviously people have to donate the time to do this, so some people can't. So we've got my very good friend Rod, who is an Anglican priest, and he lives out in Spain now. He used to be, he was one of the vicars that were with the group when I first started. So he lives out in Spain, so he sends his recording over in the week when he's on. We have Nathan and Poppy. They are in St Giles Church in Aintree, and she runs the Good Shepherd Church in Croxteth. So the two of them do one every other week. Then we've got Lee from the Hope Community Church in Aintree, and that's a Baptist church. We've got Anthony, who's from the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints in Waterloo, which is a Mormon church. And if anybody wants to come on, they can come on and do it. I'm in talks at the moment with a lady who's going to come on and talk about Buddhism. So every couple of months, she'll be on to do some Buddhist stuff. So, cool. Just bring your bells, and we'll all sit there and just meditate and just enjoy it.
Brilliant.
Now, your lad's got involved, hasn't he, Mike?
Do you know what? That's really weird, because he has, and it's really weird. The system we used to use, the program we used for the radio station was called Sam Broadcaster, and it's now gone to a thing called Playout One. And Daniel was doing was doing software engineering in Liverpool University, and part of his degree was a year in industry. So he got a job with British Telecom down in Ipswich, so went down there for a year in industry and then came back. Now, I got Dan involved coming to help me with the radio station because he's superb on computers, as you were saying before about, it's now on Spotify. Daniel's like this as well. So anything that would go wrong with the software, he would get in touch with Playout One and tell them what was wrong with it. And they said to him, this is fantastic, because anybody else who gets in touch to say there's something wrong just says it's broke, and they don't tell us. Well, Dan has done a feasibility study. He's looked into what can be done, what can't be done, what's right, what's wrong. So they offered him a job. So he was doing tech support for them for a year. Now, he used to work in Curry's in Aintree the know-how bit, and he was too talented for them, and they didn't appreciate him. No, and honestly, they really did not appreciate it. He wrote so many software programs to make life easier in that shop. It's unbelievable. So anyway, when he came back, because they said to him, when you come back from Ipswich, you can have your job back. But when he came back, they went, oh, well, it's a little bit different. And he was a bit down. And then within a week, Play Out One said, look, we want you to come here. It was almost twice the money. He was working from home, and it was just absolutely fantastic. So he's an integral part of that that company now, and they want him back. But obviously he's got sites on British Telecom, so he's down in Ipswich on a postgraduate contract for 2 years. But then that will turn into a permanent job after 2 years.
Oh,
brilliant! How good is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your professional journey as well, Mike.
My professional journey.
Because after Monarch, I'm
right, okay, yeah. Well, at Monarch, I used to run the union, and a lovely lady started the union off in Monarch, and I helped her really, and she's fantastic, and she's actually she worked for Key 103 on the reception for a while. Lou Finley, Lou Ferno, and she's lovely, and I've been to see her over the last couple of years a few times. She's just lovely, and Lou had problems with her back, and she said to me, Mike, I've got to go off for about 6 months. Will you just take over the union for me for 6 months? I said, all right. She never came back, and she's done well. She just didn't want to come back flying. So I sort of was involved in the union, and then for sort of the last 7 years of Monarch, I was the chair of the union. So I was the main person there. So I took Monarch through the restructure, which was horrendous, but we managed to keep the company going for another 3 years. And then when the company ceased trading, I went to work in Currys because Daniel was there. So I went there for the Christmas period. They offered me a job there, but I had my sights back in the sky. So I actually got a job with British Airways in Heathrow and in Gatwick. And I also got a job with Thomas Cook. But I just could not get my head round the drive down to Heathrow all the time. When you've done long haul and you've done what we used to call a bullet Orlando with Monarch, where you would fly out of here on say a Tuesday morning, and you take off about 7 o'clock in the morning and fly your 9.5 hours to Orlando, and you get there and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So you're 5 hours behind. So then you do your stuff, you do a bit of shopping, you go and eat.
Hang on a minute. Hang on, Mike. That's not true. You'd get off the plane on a bullet, have a room party.
I was trying to be politically correct.
Was unbelievable. Drunk, get a cab to Walmart or Target or TJ Maxx as it is over
Spend
there.
your allowances.
Buy a load of nonsense. Go back, collapse. Get up in the morning and be like, oh my God. It was like something off Absolutely Fabulous, like that with your lips there. And get on the plane home. We used to do longer trips. We used to do like 6 day, 7 day, 8 day trips. But the bullets, you'd just be like, you wouldn't know what day it was, would you?
Oh no, no, because the next day when you landed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the Tuesday afternoon, you would be flying home at 3 o'clock on the Wednesday afternoon.
Following day, yeah.
Yeah. So you take off at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're now doing a 9-hour flight right back across the pond. And it comes to that time of the morning. Well, it's about 9 o'clock at night in Floridian time, but everyone's been on holiday for 2-3 weeks, so they're all bright as a button, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock in the morning here. I need to go to sleep, and someone's kicking off because someone's reclined the seat in front, and you're thinking, I'm going to up, and you just want to smack them, and you've got to be so professional and think, no, But but to me, it's the drive home after that then, because you get in your car, the quietness. And you drive out that car park and you get on the motorway, and then your head starts to do that. So a couple of times I've had to pull over and just, have a walk around. And I remember one time driving back from Luton when I was based in Luton, and I pulled in a Corley Services because I'd come in from Orlando and I thought, I feel bright as a button. And I drove from Luton almost to Cawley Services, and I started falling asleep. And I remember I was between two trucks, and I must have just dropped off, and it frightened me. So I thought, right, that's it. I've got to pull into Cawley. Now, I'd phoned my mum before I went on this journey and said, look, I'm just leaving now. I should be home about 2:00. So we landed about 7 a.m, phoned her about 8. So I should be home about 2, taking it easy. I pulled into Cawley about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up and it was dark. I'd slept I reclined the seat back and just slept there the whole day. My mum was beside herself because we didn't have mobile phones then. In the 90s, there was no mobile phones. So I obviously woke up and legged it into the service station and phoned home and said, look, I'm all right, I just fell asleep in the car. But that's the way it gets you. And I've got friends who work for BA and for Virgin. And I asked them about this, and I said, what do you do? Because, I was Liverpool.
I used to fly up.
Yeah, but I think things have gone a bit more expensive now, Sandra. And and they were saying they drove, but they would try and get to the last service station before the M42. I think it's Warwick on the M40, and have a sleep in there. My wife said to me, there's absolutely no way, at the age of 57 I was at the time, that you are going to be sleeping in a sleeping bag in a car park. No. So she put her foot down, and I agreed. So I decided to go to Thomas Cook, but I didn't go because, a long-winded way around of telling you, I got offered this contract with Unite to go and recruit people for a certain low-cost airline. And I've been doing that ever since. It was an 8-week contract. And the contract is up at the end of this month, so fingers crossed it gets it extended a bit more.
Fingers round.
Fingers round. Okay.
Fingers round. So you've, from your travel background and all that stuff, you've started a radio station or podcast, haven't you? Your travel radio.
Oh yeah. Well, that's not me. That's actually a couple of people from British Airways started that. Okay. Del Wilden and Deb Henley, and they've started Travel.radio. I think it was called Cabin Crew Radio when it first started, but it's changed the name to Travel.radio, and it's a global success. I mean, it's just growing. We've got Mo, our presenter in Bahrain, to say it right. We've got Natasha, who broadcasts from Valletta in Malta. We've got Joe Malerba, who is a big name in New York. He works on television, and he's got a show. We have got the lovely, I don't know if you know the name, Sam Kane. You heard of him? He was in Brookside. He's one of our presenters. He's married to Linda Lusardi. So I was chatting to them this afternoon on the phone. They have he has a show there. And there's just, Simon Calder used to be on the station as well. And it's all about travel. And I try not to get bogged down too much with travel because everybody talks about travel. And my wife says, well, I'll say to my wife, did you listen to the show today? And she'll say, why would I listen to you after 27 years? Why would I, when I've got a chance to get away from you, why would I turn the radio on to listen to you? She loves me really, but that's what she says. And so it is a really, really good radio station. The music is fantastic. It's got to be the best music mix around, right from the 70s up till now. And I'm on there on a Friday afternoon from 1 till 4, and then on a Saturday afternoon from 2 till 6. And it's also from 6 till 10 is targeted at the LGBTQ plus community, where they have a show from 6 o'clock till 8 called Wish You Were Queer, and then one from 8 till 10 called Here She Is. So Wish You Were Queer is done by the lovely Jamie Greaves in association with the Business Creative down in Brighton. And then Here She Is with Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward. And he has some stars on there because I'd like to have his mobile phone because some of the stars he has on there he interviews. And Sam Kane, being in the industry, he interviews so many celebrities on there. It's just a great music fix and really interesting.
What's your Saturday one? Sorry.
2 till 6 on a Saturday afternoon takeoff. And that is all you have to do really is just type in your search bar travel dot radio full stop, you know, the travel full stop radio, and it just comes up.
So is it www dot?
Yeah, you can put that in, yeah. And they've got the app as well for that, so you can download the app free from the App Store. And you've got travel.radio in your pocket wherever you go. It really is a good radio station. My wife says the music on here is brilliant.
Brilliant. Is it .com or .co.uk? Sorry.
Just travel.radio.
Oh, just travel.radio.
That's all. Honestly, that's all you have to type in your search bar. Travel, full stop, radio, all one.
Okay, I'm just putting that into the comments so if people are listening in, they can have a little look at that. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to mention this weekend, all you have to do is email presenters@travel.radio and I'll give them a mention.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
So what sort of things do you talk about?
Do you know, talk about anything and everything. I was discussing the new Apple Watch this week. I don't know if you've seen it, where it's got SOS calling on, and there was an article that I found, and it was saying that people's lives had been saved. So a person came off the road and drove the car into a canal, and the car filled up with water, and they phoned up on their Apple Watch because they didn't even have signal where they were, but because it's got SOS calling, someone was on a paddle board that got taken out to sea, and someone fell off a ladder. Well, apparently it's got a fall detector on, so it alerted the emergency services. It's unbelievable.
So I've been looking at that on the Apple Watch, and I've seen a few, and they've actually got a few clips out on their advert at the moment. And there's a guy who falls off his mountain bike in the middle of the forest, and as he falls, it's got fall detection on it.
Yeah.
So if you fall in your bash, it rings the automatic services.
Yeah.
It rings the emergency services, and then they ring you back. And if you say, "Oh yeah, it's me," you know, I've fallen in, then they say, "Okay." But if you don't reply, then they keep on contacting. And there was a girl who I don't know, she went off a cliff or something in her car, and I just think it's an amazing piece of tech. And also on the new Apple Watch, you've got your blood oxygen levels, and it's an ECG. And I know that one of the lads went into hospital with he was having heart palpitations, and the doctor actually read his watch before they put him on an ECG machine.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? It really is unbelievable.
You know, how clever is that, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. So we talk about anything and everything, really.
Ah, cool, brilliant. And what sort of music?
Well, it's just really upbeat. I love disco music from the 80s. Yes. I just love it. I mean, I don't know whether you would class it as being camp music or whatever. I don't class it. I just class it as the time I was DJing in clubs and everyone was there and just having an absolutely amazing time, just dancing away in the 80s. It's just unbelievable. So
Sandra and I share an office, and we have vinyl only in our office, don't we? We brought in vinyl only.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, radio is fantastic just to have on in the background, isn't it? You know, because a record will come on and just go and turn it up and you'll think, what did they say then? But everything on travel.radio is on demand as well, so you can go back and listen to it again, which is great as well.
Brilliant. And I spoke about life after cabin crew, didn't I? Well, that's what it was on, and I said, well, you need to come on our show now.
Absolutely, yeah. Did you get a chance to listen to it?
No.
Life is busy. Life's busy.
Sorry, I've been chocker, absolutely chocker.
You need to send us the link and we can listen in, because so Sandra was Mike
your own voice
interviewed Sandra on the travel radio show, which is how then Mike ended up coming on our show, wasn't it? Which is brilliant. Yeah. Well, Mike, you've been amazing. We just need to ask you a few more things. So have you got a red face moment? Something that people can laugh along with, not at you. Oh. So something maybe slightly embarrassing that's happened, or Sandra can go first if she's got one.
No, again, I have, but again, I can't share it.
Well, this is a bit rude. I don't think it's too rude. It's about toilets, really.
All right.
So I was on holiday with my mate in Tenerife, and I think the bar was called Banana Bar or something. It was in the Veronica's Centre. We're having a few drinks, and all of a sudden I got pains in my stomach, and I thought, I must have food poisoning. I need to go to the toilet. So I could see the toilet in front of me, and I just bolted for the toilet, and I shut the door, and I threw my foot against the door like that to keep it shut. And I was like, I was trying to get my belt undone, and I just sat down and done what I had to. My head was in my hands like that. And I thought, oh, and after about 2 minutes, I managed to lift my head, and I looked up, and all it shut was the frame of the door, because the whole door had been kicked out, and it was just the frame of the door, so everyone could see me sitting on the toilet. Now that is a red-faced moment.
That's a classic red face. That's a good one.
That's a brilliant story, Mike.
I'm going to talk about, we went up Mulfhammer on Sunday, and we decided to sat nav it, didn't we?
Oh, that was terrible.
And so there's the Ruthin Road, or you can go through Mould. And Sandra said, oh, we used to go this way. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. So we went through that way. And then she went, yeah, and you just turn left and you just turn right. And we ended up going through the little village of Kilcane, and we were like up little winding roads. But we got there, didn't we? And we had an amazing walk, didn't we?
We were half an hour late and everyone was waiting for us, Mike. And we had
I love Mulfhammer. Love it.
It was beautiful. And the weather was amazing, wasn't it? We had a lovely, lovely trip, didn't we? Yeah. Shout out to the grown-ups. Any grown-ups who've done amazing things. We've only got 4 minutes left. So shout out to any grown-ups, Sam.
Shout out to Danny Clark, as always. And we've been on his finance training today. What a brilliant trainer he is. You know, I hate anything to do with numbers and stuff. And he just makes it amazing, doesn't he? And it just goes click, 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 click. And stuff I knew before but was a bit cloudy. It's all gone into place and I can see it with clarity now, and just all about business. And it was just fantastic, really. And the second part of it, and if anyone had have told me I'd be really excited about going into mega analysis of profit and loss sheets, etc., and balance statements, I'd have gone, don't be ridiculous. And I'm really looking forward to it, you know. So massive shout out. How anyone can make that interesting, I've no idea. He really is a gifted trainer.
He is a gifted trainer.
Danny, what about you, Mike?
Well, do you know what? Today, one of our ex-scout leaders, Joe, who's 80, was just 80 a couple of days ago, got in touch and said, I'm going off to Florida on Sunday, and I've got an email on my phone which my wife needs, and I don't know how to send it to her. So I shot round to his house, and we sat down and I explained it to him, and he can now forward an email. So Joe, well done.
Well done, Joe.
Yeah.
Well
what
done,
about you,
Joe.
Hal?
I want to give a shout out to Sophie, so to our Soph and to our Penno for helping with today, and a massive shout out to Dana and Joe. Dana was unbelievable today, and yeah, so massive shout out to the Swinnies, who were great today. Positive challenge, Mike. Is there anything that people can go out and about that's a little bit positive this week?
Well, I think people, if they haven't had their vaccination, should go out and get vaccinated, because none of us are safe until we're all safe, are we? And I know some people are against it, but you know, at the end of the day, a friend of mine said he doesn't want any vaccination because he's scared of the chemicals going in his body, and he smokes 20 cigarettes a day. So, you know, so I don't see the logic.
Yeah.
So if you can, you can, please have a think about getting that vaccine and help to save everyone, because we're not safe till everyone's safe.
No, that's a good shout. Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah. Looking after everybody else, isn't it? And making sure that we're all doing the right thing for everybody else.
Well, I always try to look after the underdog.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So we have a closing quote. So we have a little bit of positivity that we can leave people with. And I know you've just sort of spoke about the underdog, but I want you to just quickly tell us what you told us before about when you got the job on, was it the airlines you got the job on and you wouldn't have got it on paper?
Yeah. And that's why I sort of try and do this in my life. I went for an interview for an airline, and I only got in touch with the lady who interviewed me 32 years ago last week. And she said, on paper, I was just not suitable for the job. Totally not suitable, but she had a feeling about me, and you know, I just excelled in this job. They gave me the job, they gave me the chance, and within 6 months I was the cabin manager on board the plane. And people that had passed the interview, got the job on merit, were still classed down as juniors, but I just excelled. And sometimes it's not always passing the interview, because if you pass an interview, doesn't mean you can do that job.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So on that note, it's not about the piece of paper, it's about the person behind the piece of paper. And sometimes
Absolutely.
give that person that chance, you know, and they will
I like
shine
that,
with the right
Helen.
support. Yeah,
That's
you
the
can
person
have that
behind the
one, Mike.
paper.
You can have that for free.
Thank you.
So we're going to say a massive, massive thank you to Mike for joining us tonight, and a massive thank you to Sandra, as always.
Thank you,
good
Helen.
luck tomorrow night, San, on your Battle of Drummond.
I'll tell you all about it next week. I might
So
be
we're
able
super
to move
excited.
my arms, though.
We'll have a little demo next week on the biscuit tin and chopsticks. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you all next week.
Thank
you. Bye.
Thank you, Helen.